are going to finish the squash, and what we're going to do is we're going to darken this area one more time. So we've got this area and this area and then this area. We're not going to make it as dark as it is in the picture, but we are going to darken it. We want to separate that out top to bottom. I'm real happy with the way the orange has done with the squash after we did that last glaze, so I'm real happy with that. Then we're going to go on to our sit-down shadows, and I've been playing around with a couple colors that we might want to use, and this is actually sepia all by itself, nothing else added to it. But then this and this, this would be the next value, and then this would be the lightest value, is all of the colors that we've used. Sunler yellow, light, lemon yellow, a touch of alizarin crimson, and a touch of the indigo. And I did add some of the sepia, but not a lot, because I want that to be the lighter color. And then with the green, all I did was use the two colors we've been using, the Sunler green and the Hooker's green, and then a touch of the sepia to darken it, because I want this to be the darkest glaze. So I was trying to decide between the normal gray shadows for sit down. And let me show you so it would be the darkest underneath the item, and then this would be the next value. Wow, it's got 3 values, and this would be the lightest. But I didn't care for the gray with these colors, so that's why I've decided I'm going to go with the lighter brownish values for the shadows. So that's what we're going to do. So let's get started with the greens, and we're going to do it fairly dark. This is going to be the darkest green on here, so we want to make sure we got a lot of dark in here. And I'm adding the indigo blue. I'm also adding the sepia just to give it that darker tone. I don't want it to be a dead green, but I definitely want it to be dark. So you can just see me adding those colors in. I'm going to do this wet on dry. Yeah, that looks a lot better. It's nice and dark. Grab my magnifying glass. And what this is going to do is, of course, it's going to make that top curve in, and that's exactly what we want here. And if this dries with a little bit of a hard line, not a biggie, because this is just like all these other different little marks and so forth in the design. Section. You don't want it to look like brush strokes, so keep that in mind as you go. Okay, I think that's what that needed, was to just sit down. Looking on the design to see. There's a couple other spots over here we could do a quick addition. Okay. All right, clean the brush. There's one other thing I want to do to that leaf. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of color. I just want to set this edge down. Just doesn't look like it's going around. Just like that, basically. Anytime you put a dark value on the back edge like that, it curls it down. That's what we want this leaf to do. Just to curl back. Good. All right. So it's real important how you apply this water. You don't want it flooded, because wherever you put this water is where, especially underneath, the dark is going to go. So you do not want a ton of water up close to the object underneath. Now as you pull out over here, yeah, then you're going to want to get some shadow in there, or some water in there so you can apply your shadow. Moving this so I can see. I'm going to just go right over that area. Now this is virgin paper here. It's not been painted on or anything where we're applying this shadow. So I'm going to let that water soak in, and then I'm going to apply a second coat, which is what I do on each object that I paint whenever it's virgin paper like that. You want to make sure it gets nice and wet. I don't know if it's that dry in my studio or what, but okay, that looks good. I'm going to pick up my trusty number 6. Now, the darkest value is straight sepia. You always want to twirl your brush to a point. Don't want anything to drip as you do this. Use my magnifying glass. Use your tip of your brush. See how it just spreads out there, which is a good thing, because that's what shadows do. And again, if we have to redarken this one more time, we can. I'm just going to see, yeah, that's about as high as I'm going to go. Alright, now I'm going to pick up, without cleaning my brush, the next value, and just kind of lay it in gently next to the dark, so we want them to blend. Not a lot of work that needs to be done because the water is going to do a lot of it for you. Cleaned my brush. Now, with the moisture in my brush, I'm going to add a little bit more over here, because this is our lightest value, so I'm trying to get the lighter. There we go. Right up. Probably got more water than I need. Right at the edge. So you got your 3 values. I'm going to straighten out this edge as I go here. And that's what's nice too, if you need to, you can always add more water, remove some water. Like over here I probably got it a little bit too wet. So I'm just using my brush like a sponge to pick up some of that. And it's bringing the color right along with it, which is perfect. You want to make sure you get a nice clean brush when you do that. And since this is still moist, I can add in some of that mid value right here. Now, it's drying pretty harsh on the outside line, so I'm just going to add some water to soften that out, so that paint and all the way around, so that paint has a place to go and it doesn't create that hard line. You don't want it to be soaking wet, but you want enough moisture in there to apply some water. Okay, and I'm going to show you my graphite again. It starts here, so it's like that. Darkest area up against the, and it does come all the way off the paper as far as we can go here. But you definitely like to put what I call sit-down shadows. It sets the item down. Otherwise it looks like they're floating. Now if we did shadows on all these other items and didn't do one on the leaf, it would look real funny. So yeah, you need to set these items down. Unless you're going to put them on a table or something like that. Items in there. Okay. Grab the sepia, load my brush. Again, I'm going to take away the water droplets, so you don't want it to have. Grab my magnifying glass. Some more paint. Some of it goes over the pumpkin. You know what? Shadows do go over the bottom of the item. That looks good. Okay. Wow. Just going to grab a little bit of that right in here. Just going to blend that in. Now this goes right to the edge, so it's not going to get a lot of the lightest value, but that's okay. Just adding water to the edge there. Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing to the squash. I had my graphite coming up way over there, but that's a little bit high. So we're going to start it down a little bit lower. And between these two items, it softens out too. So you want to go out a little bit further than... Okay. Pick up my darkest color. Put my water brush down and pick up my magnifying glass. Bring it to a point. Clean my brush. Pick up the mid value. And then the lightest. I'm just going to darken this area in here a little bit more. And then I'm going to add some water to that outside edge all the way down. And soften it. And like I said, if we need to go over these again, we will. It looks like we probably will. But I'd rather start out light than to go too dark too quick. Because if you go too dark too quick, you're kind of stuck with it. Or you fight with it with your Eradicator. Alright, now let's talk about this leaf. It's sitting up, it's on the same floor, whatever you want to say these are on. However, the stem is coming up. So the stem is actually going to have the shadow down here at the same level as where the leaf is sitting. I'll show you what I mean here with the water. So it's going to be sitting here on the table or whatever you want to say it's on. But this part is not sitting down on anything, so its shadow is being cast down here. This is going to have a shadow up underneath here, darkest closest to the item, and then two more values coming out. Now this is going to cast a shadow over here, just like the stem did, because that's not sitting down on the table either. Let that soak in for a minute. And you don't want these shadows to be overbearing either, so probably one more layer or glaze is all we're going to need. And that's why I chose to go with the lighter of the two colors I was dealing with, or choosing from, I should say. I'm going to kind of tilt that up the way that's going. Okay, now let's grab some more sepia. And we're going to start over here. See how the shadow is casting down on the table or whatever. This is coming up underneath. Okay. Now over in here is basically where we're going to need the next value. And then a lot of water. To add that third value. Alright, now I'm just going to soften that outside edge so it doesn't create a hard line. Go ahead, and I think we're going to glaze these two first, then we should be able to go right on and do the apple and the leaf. And I'm going to put water all the way down the pumpkin squash, turning around my cloth there so I can get at some dry area if I need it. I love those cloth baby diapers. They're so absorbent. It's just phenomenal for what we do with this stuff. Let's do the dark first. Bring your brush to a point. If you're like me and you need a magnifying glass, go ahead and grab one. It's getting much darker this time, which is great. Especially up next to the objects. I'm going to just continue right down, and we'll do the mid value on both of them as we go. And this goes right around the edge. Alright, now with that in my brush, I'm just going to go ahead and add a little bit of moisture to the mid value here. This is the area we want to add this one. Let that blend in with that. And we want to get some of that in here and let it blend in with the dark. You can take it right up to the edge of the squash. Give our edges a place to go with that water so they don't dry harshly. Make sure you have a clean, dry brush as you do that. Softening that edge as well. Definitely darker this time. And this is a pretty big pumpkin, so if it's got some depth to it up front, it's okay. In other words, if the shadow pulls out into the water more than it did the first time, that's not a biggie. Because it's a pretty big item. And move this down a little bit closer to me so I can reach it. Well, that picked up that dark color much nicer this time. And now we're going to put the mid-value color in. Kind of gently soften it into each other. And then I'm going to pick up some water and pick up the lightest value and do that down here. So we can soften away. And then I'm going to just soften the edges so they don't dry harsh. I'm actually going to get my magnifying glass. See what I'm doing that way. It is picking up some of that color, so you want to be sure and wipe that out of your brush or clean it out in your bucket. Here we go. Having a hard time flattening out my brush because I got my palette right there, so I'm going to move that a little bit so I can get at it easier. There we go. That's better. Took some of that mid-value out, so we'll add it back in. Alright, now I'm going to just soften the top edge and this edge. Okay. While it's still wet, just going to add some more of that color in there and let it dry. Get my water brush going here for the leaf. And again, you want it to go out further. And where you're going to put the paint. Okay. And what we're going to do today, so you can see me, I'm removing the tape. And this is just, so I can show you, Arches board. However, it buckled in this area and this area, and so I'm going to stretch it now that it's completed. This is my squash, gourd, and apple design that we painted with an extra leaf, And I'm just taking the tape off, and I want you to see how I do the tape. I always pull it towards the design. That way you don't tear any of the paper. Standing as we do this, so it's a little different for me. And some of the things that you need for this is more tape. So you're going to be taping it down once, or doing it the wrong way here. Once it's wet, we're going to be taping it down to a board. Now this is 11 by 14, so you want a board that's larger than that. And I want to show you how I remove this from, so you're going to need a paper, dry bath towel, an old one, but it has to be absorbent. You want it to be able to absorb. And you need a palette knife. You're going to need more tape. You're going to need a nice large brush to put your water down with. Set that right there. You want clean water. I'm going to remove all my brushes here so I can get at my bucket of clean water that's in there. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The board to tape it on, clean water. And I always do like to have a clean, dry baby diaper in case we need it. Close at hand. So all I'm doing, and I'm going to just show you this on the board here. See, this is where it buckled, but normally it would be just like these papers. And you would just slide this in, slide it under. This one's going to be a lot easier because it's already buckled off. And around until you release it from your board, paper from the paper board here. And I like these little bit thicker palette knife to do this with. Sometimes the thinner palette knife can actually tear the paper, so you want to be cautious with that. Okay. There we go. Now that's separated. I'm going to close this up and set it aside for the next design that we do. Okay, so now this is a gear board that I have here, and we're going to, once it's wet, put it on the clean side, there we go. I'll just tape it right back down to this. So I have that sitting here, ready to go. We're going to turn this face down. Buckled, so it would not sit correctly in the frame. And we're just going to get this nice and wet. And that's what the bath towel's for here, is when you do get this wet, it's not going to go around to the other side because the bath towel will absorb any extra moisture. First time I did this, about died. So I tried it on a project that I didn't do a lot with, and I really didn't care if it got ruined or not. But, and your brushes are bigger and they're new and all that, so you're going to lose some hairs. So make sure those are out of there. There we go. You want to make sure this is nice and wet, even if you have to go over it a couple of times. Especially where those bulges are from where it buckled. And once you get this on, now this is a fairly large, like I said, it's 11 by 14, fairly large design. It's going to take at least minimum 48 hours to dry on the board once it's taped down. And just keep applying water until it looks like it's pretty wet, nice and even across the entire paper. Of course, get rid of your hairs if need be. My brush keeps losing hairs. Okay. Now I'm going to gently, not real high, but I'm just going to lift it up a little bit. And it looks like it's still dry over here. You want to make sure it's nice and wet. Make sure my edges are wet. Okay, so you can set your brush down at this point. I'm going to move this over here. Make sure it's flat, because I want to get my board in here. And now I'm going to turn it over and tape it down. And like I said, you're going to just leave this sit for about 48 hours to dry, nice and dry. But this will remove those bubbles. It doesn't look like it when you first tape it down, but you'll be shocked. Turn it to get at the next side. You'll be shocked at how flat this comes out. And I'll show you once it's dry. I'll take it off, take the tape off and show you how flat it is, and then it'll be all ready to frame. Make sure your tape's down nice and secure. And that you've got the paper as flat as possible as you tape it. Trying to do like about a ½ an inch on the tape. It's not the thickest tape in the world or the widest, but it should work. And you can keep a close watch on this as it dries. If you need more tape, add more tape. But keep it somewhere flat where nothing's going to fall on it, and it can dry all on its own. Just get those wrinkles out of there. There we go. Now you want to run your fingers around the tape. You don't want to run it on the paper because you could have dirty fingers, but there we go. That's how you stretch it once your design is completely painted. So I'll come back after it's dried in 48 hours and show you what it looks like when it's completely ready to be framed. I'll see you then. Alright, we're back and I've got everything nice and dry. So I'm going to remove the painting. This is the one that I got completely wet on the back and taped it down. And I'm just removing it from the gator board that it was on. And there we go. It is ready to be framed. And it's going to look lovely. So that's pretty much what we need to do if we end up with buckling that isn't going to look real good when it's framed, is put it on a bath towel, soak it on the back. Any water will get picked up by the bath towel on the front, so you don't have to worry about losing your design or anything. But it worked out really well. And this is going to be on Patreon soon, so keep an eye out. Please go over and check for my other paintings on Patreon. And it's step by step. You can watch me from beginning to end. And I want to thank you so much for being a patron if you are a patron and decide to become a patron. It's really important for my channel to be able to continue to bring you paintings and graphites. And we'll see you soon. Thank you so much.